can record, and then if it turns to be private stuff, we don't have to publish it.
Okay, mate, yeah, that sounds cool.
Well, that.
Oh, George, you want to just get the important questions out first, out of the way, and then we can record after.
Oh, all right. I've already started. I'll pause it.
Or we can talk after at the end when we're finished.
No, I'll pause.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just covered some private issues there, which I mostly like to conduct things in the public, but occasionally it's good to keep your cards close to your chest. And Andy just said a really powerful thing about you know, the law, and that it's kind of like, the bottom line is it's like a game of poker, and if you collapse or give your fear away, you kind of like manifest your fear, or you panic, or you cave, you've lost your position of strength. And I was just giving a couple of examples where, I don't know if it's still in Ireland, but it used to be that the police were supposed to be trained in basic Gaelic, Irish language. And so if you got stopped for whatever reason and you conversed with the police, the Gardaí in Gaelic, if they couldn't converse back to you and tell you fluently why they were stopping you and what they were requesting of you, then the interaction was null and void, because you weren't speaking the same language. So those 2 points, if you can expand on those, because we've seen a couple of examples where people representing themselves, or people having all the right documentation, but then complying with the unlawful people acting, you know, corporation employees calling themselves police. So talk about that. Talk about the poker face, the thing about not caving in, and whatever else your new research is, Andy. We'll just do like a 20-minute broadcast.
Yeah, well, the poker bit was just about knowing what cards, knowing when to hold, knowing when to fold, isn't it? Basically, yeah. If you know what
to keep poker face, it's like not to panic, not to cave.
Yeah, the things never to do. Things never to do is get angry. Whoever gets angry is lost. So when they're angry, yeah, you stay calm regardless. Yeah, you've got to remain in humility, remember, because the police, yeah, you know, they're like we used to be before we realised what had been done to us all. So they're none the wiser. They're just order followers. And the point is, yeah, they know that these acts and statutes apply because they apply to them, because they've got a contract. They've given a wet ink signature. The acts and statutes don't apply to anyone that hasn't given the wet ink signature, and anybody that knows that they do require the wet ink signature. So if you know that they require a wet ink signature and you haven't signed anything, then you have no contract with them. So the acts and statutes don't apply to you because they only apply to the consent of the governed, and consent equals to a wet ink signature. So that's on that side of it. But remember, because there's multiple ways, isn't there? There's multiple ways of getting, proving that you're the living man, not the person. Okay, so if you're going to mix them, you're going to get confused yourself. So you stick with one. You know, but I stuck with the one that I stuck because of the terms and conditions, because all law is contract and contract is law. So I stuck with the quantum grammar because it was perfect, because I can't lie in it. But guess what? Nor can they. So it's perfect. So it's a rule one, rule equal, level playing field. This is what I like, because I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah, so what are they going to do? Because without a victim, yeah, there's no crime. We all know that. It's very simple. You know? And Mr. Government doesn't wear trousers or a skirt because Mr. Government is a dead entity. It's a corporation. So government is nothing to do with the scenario. Okay? So that's out of the window. They're all acts and stats. That's the colour of law. So stick to whatever it is that we're sticking to. Now, you started off with the fact of the Gaelic and the fact that the Irish that spoke English and didn't speak the Gaelic, yeah, they let them go because they couldn't converse with them. Now, I'm sure, as at the same point in time, if there was something serious, they would have held them down, and then they would have brought in an interpreter. And there's your answer. Now, the answer is there. Everyone, they have to give you an equal right, and that doesn't matter where you are in the world. Yeah, yeah. If a policeman comes to you, yeah, depending on what language you're speaking, yeah, they have to bring in an interpreter. Okay,
I
so
think the reason it worked over here, and you might be right about more serious crimes, but I think the reason it worked over here because it's the native language. So the people, the Gaelic speaking people have a right to expect that their police as public servants will speak their language.
I also believe that Gaelic it may also not have been corrupted.
Possible, yeah. I'm not a Gaelic speaker.
And that's in the same sense as what with the quantum.
Okay.
With the quantum grammar. You see, the point is, because they work on deception. The policemen, they're just deceived. So I'm not blaming the policemen; they're just doing their job because they think that it's okay to take orders. They've got no morals. That's the thing, and that's a fact, by the way, and I can verify that 100%. Yeah, because anybody who takes orders, hasn't got morals.
They've suspended their own conscience in favour of following somebody else's orders. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the policeman, if he had morals, when you explain to him that, hang on, you need my consent to enforce any act or statute. It's plain and simple. It's in there. You need the consent of the governed. You're classing me as the governed. Number one. Number one ain't governed.
Yeah.
Number two, I'm myself. Number three, consent is equals to a wetting signature. So even if you're going to class me as the governed, where's my signature? Because you haven't
got that. Yeah, which is what Aaron David Ward says. Yeah.
I don't sign anything for a start off. I use an autograph for my autonomy. So I put my autonomy graph on the paper, which is not a signature. I do not do anything in cursory because I do not curse myself, because that is the dead entity. That is the legal fiction, so to say. That is where they tricked people into what they say. And that's why they're trying to say that these apply to you because you're a corporate entity. You're owned by the corporation because the birth certificate was registered to the corporation. Just like the policemen, they all gone and they've signed the contracts in with them. So yes, those acts and statutes apply to those. Yeah, I'll give you that. We'll stick with
contracted, yeah.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. But that applies to them, not me. That applies to them.
Yeah.
They've consented.
Yeah, because when I was raided, they assured me that the judge had put a wet ink signature on the warrant. But I wasn't educated at that time to know that I would have to contract as well, and they would have to show me my wet ink signature. And so the only mistake I made, which actually my son made, was to let them in, to give them access. And that's just old-fashioned manners. My boys are just raised to be polite,
That reminds me of the old Dracula films. Now, do you remember the old Dracula films? Dracula would come to the door, but he couldn't come in the house unless you invited him.
Unless you let them in. It's the same with the devil, isn't it? It's like the devil can't do anything without you giving him a foothold. You have to give the devil a legal foothold for him to play havoc in your life. So it's the giving of the legal foothold. And there will be times where they will, by brute force, overpower people, because Field McConnell tried to do, he had Kirk, whatever his name is, he had some pretty high-powered common law people helping him, but in the end, they got him. I mean, they grabbed him and they put him in jail, and now he's tagged and curfewed and fucking held hostage in a state that is not his native state at all. He was extradited, and there is a stage at which brute force can overpower common law, is there not?
You've got the castle doctrine, haven't you?
What's that?
Castle doctrine, where that's the most how anyone can defend themselves.
So is that based on the principle of a man's home is his castle?
Well, you can defend your castle. I live in my castle. This is a castle. This is a castle. This is where I live. You say, where do you live? I live inside myself.
Yeah.
This body that you see. Again, this is another thing. This is another explanation. Yeah, trespass. Because what's trespass? Trespassing on my land. Well, I am land because I am of the earth. Everything that created this piece of flesh that you see in front of you came from the earth.
Yeah, dust to dust.
When I leave this body, this will turn back into the earth. So I am.
That's right. You were created out of dust. You were created out of the earth. Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And it's also biblical to say that you inhabit your own earthly body because it says the body is the temple of the spirit, and this, you know, you are indwelling your own temple kind of thing.
Well, I do like it. That's where I live. Where the I of I am lives inside this body, this vessel, this body. You know, you can call it a vessel. You know, like a car is a vessel, but you have to go into the car, into that vessel, to be able to manipulate it and drive it. Like if I left my body, if I astro projected, or if I, left my body in spirit, then my body would be out of the consciousness. It wouldn't be doing anything. It would be still, because the I wasn't in there. The I of the I am isn't in my body to generate the electricity to operate the muscles and make the movement of my body. That's, the simple thing, a way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, but that again, looking at on the way, because the ways of doing the action statute. I mean, the Baron's done it. The Baron's explained that very simply. That look, consent. There you go, consent. In consent, the denotation of consent is wetting signature. So okay, you broke it all down and you put that through, and that's an unrebutted affidavit, or should I say claim, because an affidavit is a different word because of the poison of the words. A vowel followed by two consonants means no, and a daffit is a link up of a boat, of your tender on the back of a boat. So you've got no affidavit, you've got no boat. That's what the affidavit is basically saying. So a claim, you're making a claim, and that claim that the Baron made was that where's the consent?
Yeah, there's no consent. Yeah,
there's no consent. There's no wetting signature, and the consent. He also went through the whole process of explaining that any of their acts and statutes requires the consent of the governed that they class you to be. So it's been null and voided. And it was also sent to all 650 MPs. So it's null and voided. We know that now. Now, if you know that, but why don't the police know that? Well, that's why I keep talking to the police when I talk to them. Yeah. The police need to know that. Yeah. And a mate of mine, I say a mate, well, yeah, it's a mate. He used to come to my bar here. He went over to England and he set up a business. He went into Manchester Metropolitan Police, I think it is. I won't mention his name, but he even got said like, how do you know Andy Divine, like, because he was on my Facebook, like, so anyway, but he went in there and I gave him my piece. I gave him the information from it and told him, look, if you do that to me, if you go try and enforce those acts and statutes, you're going to get yourself into trouble. And I'm just giving you that warning because you're going to meet somebody like that's aware of what the score is, and you're going to go do that, and you get yourself into a lot of, you can have a big lien against you because of what you're doing. Plus the fact that it's malfeasance in office. Malfeasance in office is up to 25 years. Right now, you're okay, but wait until the war crimes come in, because we're in war right now. We're in a third world war, and the war crimes come through. The Nuremberg Treaty didn't save the Nazis, and all these police that have been going around enforcing these acts and statutes on people without their consent, that's all malfeasance in office, and they will all be rounded up. If the good wins, and good always wins. So when the good wins, these police are going to all be rounded up because they've all been just following orders. And the Nazis, it didn't save the Nazis, and it won't save the police neither. Period. I promise. I give you, all you policemen out there. As I'm speaking to you now, I'm telling you from my heart. I'm giving you a heads up, guys. You're my brothers and sisters, But I'm telling you, you're all doomed. You're all doomed. I'm telling you. There's no two ways out of it. There's no way out.
History will judge very harshly. Did you watch the Trafalgar Square demonstrations on Saturday in London?
Yeah, I watched some of it. I'm not interested in any of that nonsense. I'll not be protesting, mate. It's a point.
Yeah, I gave up. I think I gave up protesting around 2018. I just thought. Now they did work in Ireland with the water protests just because of the sheer numbers. I think we had.
Hang on. That's a different thing, isn't it? Because that's coming. That's where they presented solutions. Now, if it was a gathering, where there was going to have speakers talking about solutions, then I'm all for it. If you're going to have a gathering talking about the problems, well.
No, there was Dolores Cahill. I listened to part of hers. She's an Irish professor and she's an immunologist and a biologist, very well qualified. And she was giving solutions. She was saying, this is where you'll find the document you need to send to school to tell them that they will be personally liable if they vaccinate your children against your wishes and without your consent. And this is how to keep your children safe. She was they were trying to come with some solutions and tell people if they didn't hand them out, because there were thousands there, so if they couldn't hand out thousands of printouts, they could certainly say, go on this link and you will find exactly what you need as a document to protect your children or to go forward, you know. But it was like watching a science fiction movie, because at one point the people actually overwhelmed the police and the police withdrew. Now, it wasn't, I don't agree with violence. I don't agree with violence either on one side or the other, police brutality or people beating up on the police. But nobody was beating up on them. They just overwhelmed them. If people knew, right, there's 20,000 of us and there's like 1,000 coppers or 5,000 coppers or whatever, all right, they've got batons and they've got pepper spray and stuff and they've got a uniform. But for a while on Saturday in Trafalgar Square, it looked like the people just came around them and said, look, choose your side. You know, you're on the wrong side, just back off. And they did back off, but then they came back with riot squad and what have you, and police horses and all the rest of it. It got ugly. It did get a bit messy.
You know, when the military come in.
Yeah, United Nations and water cannon. I mean, I've never lived in the north of Ireland, but I've seen the troubles, and the water cannon and the snipers, if it gets to that level, it's full-blown in-your-face war instead of covert guerrilla warfare. At the moment, it's just like posturing. Who's gonna break first? You know, are people going to stay off the streets out of fear? Because in Dublin, there was starting to be really good protests in Dublin. They'd had one with about 35,000 people, I think. You know, it's fair turnout, and very good speakers giving solutions. And there was protests like twice a week. And now they've locked Dublin down. You can't go in or out of Dublin. You know, to the point where,
yeah, from what I saw, the Irish were, you know, they're different. You know, they're different.
Well, hopefully there is something.
They're not the same as, you know, I mean, the way in England, I did. I mean, I'd seen a couple, and to be truthful, they are what they are. Protest, and PRO stands for no test. Again, I wouldn't call them protests. I would call them gatherings or meetings of the minds, because that's what it's more to be. And
yeah,
that's what it should be. And the minds should be presenting them with the solutions.
Yeah, because I don't like shouty protests where people are shouting and screaming, and you know, and you can't turn it into a family fun day with face painting and you know, like just lots of people doing party pieces. But I just know, you know, when it was the water protests, it was like everybody turned out, like everybody, full on families, grannies, you know, like pushchairs, everybody turned out. It was like, no, we're not having this. We're not having this. And there was squads that would go around removing the smart meters and like resisting the forced imposition of water meters. And then there was researchers that proved that Ireland had bought a load of second-class, not proper working meters from Germany. They were rejects from Germany, and our government, or Dennis O'Brien, brought them up to give them into Ireland. Like seconds, they weren't even proper water meters. They were like deficient, you know. So I know I gave up. For the most part, I don't agree with protesting, because you're going against something, you're still acting in their paradigm. But
who are you protesting to?
Yeah, you're protesting to them to say, please be nice to us. So you're still acknowledging their position of assumed power. Yeah.
They're not. They have no power.
How are things in Greece? Has it got hairy over there? What's going on? Is everybody wearing masks?
I went in the shop today. Like, yeah, and some old guy come up, like, saying, hey, mask. Like, yeah, and says, you're okay. Because the shop they don't bother with, they don't come near me now.
Yeah.
And I'm just going around the shop, and they come up to me today. She come up to me. She says, I've had a complaint. The mask. I said, tell him to stand outside. So I just carried on shopping. She just like,
oh dear.
It doesn't have to be around me. If you want to be stupid and wear your mask, that's fine. I'm not a problem with that. I can't stop you. I won't trespass on your stupidity. If you wish to be a stupid person, then be a stupid person.
I get really upset when I see children wearing them. It breaks my heart because at the moment in Ireland, 13 and under, they don't have to wear them. And I saw 3 youngsters. I went to get some cigarettes up the garage. There was 3 youngsters with masks on. I said, you don't have to wear masks. You know that, don't you? 13 and under, you don't have to wear masks. They're like, oh, they gave out to us. We tried to come in the shop and they told us off and said we had to put masks on. So they were just complying. So it's all about,
I had somebody, was it last week that flew from the UK to Catalonia, and they didn't wear a mask on the plane. She's got a note from, I believe, from a doctor or something, or a letter. I forget what it was she said she'd got. But like, you know, it's down to, again, not so much poker. I mean, poker was the initial bit, because that was a wrong word to say about it. Because when you do know, you know. And the poker side, but when I was talking about that poker side was, you know, when we're talking about the fact of the language. That was what I was saying. So when you know, yeah, that they can't contract with you in this, and I that's why I told you about the French, and that's why we went on to the Gaelic. The point is, yeah, the simple point is, yeah, is that you've got to have to remain in honour. Yeah, you've got to know what it is you're answering to.
you've got to stand your ground. You've got to stand in what you know. You've got to stand.
Don't bow down to an answer. Don't bow down to giving them an answer because that's what you think you want them to hear. I mean, I said this to the miss. It was the worst thing I ever did. It was the worst thing I ever did. I said, I don't want a yes person. Meaning, don't tell me what you think I want to hear.
Yeah. Please don't say what you think I want you to say. Yeah.
I'm going to fall out with you afterwards because you then go and do something wrong. And I'm saying, what the hell are you doing that for? You know, but you just told me you understood. You know, why are you telling me understood? You know, don't say, you know, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Now it's like argue all the toss. It was the worst thing I ever did. You know, I mean, she used to listen. Now she don't listen because I'll do it. Oh,
no, because you know that saying, white man speak with forked tongue, and there's this cultural thing where people don't say what they mean, and it drives me mad. And one of the reasons I loved living in California for 5 years in the 80s was because people, for the most part, speak. They speak what they think, you know. And I remember an American came to visit here for 2 weeks, and he didn't buy a drink anywhere for anybody in any of the pubs. And he said, "Oh, but I offered, and they wouldn't let me buy." And I said, "Yeah, but the culture here is you're supposed to insist, you know." So, but it's double speak. It's like, "Let me buy you a pint." "No, you're grand. I'm buying. They're in here. There's your drink." And it's like, "Oh, thanks very much." But really, if you knew this culture, you'd be like, "Oh, no, put your money away. And it's just such a stupid waste of energy, such a dance. Why can't you say what you mean and mean what you say, you know?
Like
So,
and you know, be no.
yeah, like yes, be yes, and you know, be no, indeed. And loads of this is in the Bible. Loads of it is in the Bible, you know?
That's what I mean. Yes, I mean, again, talking about answering, because, you know, what is perjury? You know, what is perjury? To say you know something when you don't. That's to lie. That is to lie. But I wasn't lying. I thought. You know what thought's just gone and done you, don't you? Don't answer. If you don't know, stay as king. Stay.
I understood that perjury is when you deliberately say something that's not true.
Right? Well, you deliberately answered. You know,
Yeah, the thing where people advise you to go no comment, I find that disingenuous as well, because I think, you know, we've got a mouth to speak and a mind to think. So why would we go no comment? Like, I voluntarily went and gave a 2.5-hour video statement because I had nothing to hide, you know. But some people would say, "Oh no, you box smart. You say no comment. You don't say a word. You don't say a word. You know, or you might incriminate yourself." But like, what kind of a world are we living in if just by speaking truth you could incriminate yourself, unless you've got something to hide and you are hurting someone?
The point is this, right? Yeah. What people need to fully grasp is that language.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That is the only problem. The only problem is the lack of the knowledge. Yeah. The only problem is the language. So when you're talking about white man speaks forked tongue, he also listens to one verse coming out of one man, but he's got 2 books. and he can choose what he accepts as what it is because you didn't put a cipher or you didn't put a dictionary to the words that you're speaking. You know, does 2 + 2 = 4? Does TO + TWO equal FOR? Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. But it's like you tie yourself up in knots. It's so, I don't know. It just seems so adversarial. It's like,
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's a simple way of I explain. Because listen, if it was numbers we was talking about, yeah, then it wouldn't matter what language we was talking in, because you could translate the English into French or into German, into any languages there, and they would all have the same meaning. Yeah. So in English, yeah, if I said to someone in French, does 3 + 3 = 6? You know, he's going to put it in and say "ne," or whatever they say in French. Yeah. Yeah, so because he's going to know, yeah, that 3 + 3 = 3 + 3, or whatever. In Greek, it would be 3 + 3 = hexi. Yeah. So, you know, I think we can all across the board, across the whole world, we would all agree on that. Yeah. But if I then decided to write, I've got 2 books now. I've got 2 books. And this one here is what we all know, which is 1 + 1 = 1, 2 = 2, 3 = 3, 4 = 4, and so on and so forth. But this other book, yeah, that I now write, yeah, and whereas 1 = 2, 2 = 3, yeah, and then I say to you, what does 1 + 1 equal? And you say 2, and I say incorrect.
which is what the law does to people. That's what the law does.
Well,
People go in all their naivety and good intentions, thinking, right, justice will prevail. I will tell the truth and I will get justice. And sadly, that's not how it operates.
You didn't ask which book. You know, all you have to say is, so to me, yeah, when I just, as I'm asking the question now, right, 1 = 1, 2 = 2, 3 = 3, yeah? 1 = 2, sorry, 1 = 1, 1 = 2.
So you're using a different. So
you're going to have to say to me, yeah, to give me an answer, right?
Which one of your 2 books are you using? Yeah.
Which book are you using? And that's what I do in the court. I mean, I just say, can I see the correct sentence, rich communication, parsing, syntax, grammar for the avoidance of perjury? Or can you show me which dictionary, yeah, that you're using so that I can actually read what you're saying? Because I can't read a thing. I can see what I could think what it could mean, because in the language I was taught came out of the Oxford Dictionary, and I could think it means this, but I don't want to think, because that's wrong.
I want to know, yeah, because
I need to know, and if I give you an answer by thinking, I could get myself into trouble, and that would be perjury, and I might lie, I might tell you something that's not true, and I don't want to do that. I want to remain in honour. I have God's armour on me, which is being correct. I wish to remain correct and not give you a wrong answer. So I have not enough evidence. Yeah, I need the evidence to be able to give you an answer. You're lacking. There's void. There's void of a cipher on your wordage. There's no cipher on the wordage to give me the name, give me the meaning, the denotations of the words that's written within this document. I can't read it.
Yeah. So that's fair. It's like, yeah, what context are we talking? What language are we speaking? Do you know, I sometimes think about the simplicity of the pioneers. So, you know, you emigrate and you go and find some land where there's nobody, you're not taking it off anybody, and you don't have to fight to possess it, and you make a little oasis in the desert. You make, you know, you cultivate the land and you start to make a living. And then maybe there's 100 of you and you say, it would be good to have a sheriff, you know, who's a good, upstanding, stable person who sort of knows what our morals are and what laws we, you know, follow as a community. Let's appoint them as a sheriff. And then that person would only have that authority for as long as they fulfilled the expectations of the community. So if they start taking bribes, or they started joining secret societies and having little funny signals to let certain people off, or if they started favoring one person or trying to get somebody else into bed with them, is it the nature of is it human nature that people are always going to corrupt? You know, because I think, how did the police and the judiciary and the legal profession get so corrupt? How did that happen? Is it just Freemasonry? Is it just greed and lust? Is it blackmail? Is it corruption? Is it human nature? If you take it back to a community of 100 people, say, let's authorize one person to be the sheriff, and we'll keep him in that position as long as he's honorable. And then that's it. It should be that simple, shouldn't it?
No, she created a problem. I'm sheriff. You're sheriff. We are. There is no one. This the creator, yeah, so to say, yeah, created man equal. No man is.
Yeah, all men are created equal before God. That's in the Bible.
The only one above man is creator. So man doesn't answer to man, yeah, unless obviously he's caused harm, loss, or injury, which is the pretty obvious things, yeah. Because he's
So in the event of harm, loss, or injury, then you would need a judge or a sheriff or somebody to.
Or someone to stand up for themselves. That's the thing.
Yeah, but see if
when you have a community, yeah. When you have a community, you know. I mean, we're talking about having a policeman. See, this is where you have a servant. These are the servants. Someone who steps into these positions, like a policeman or a judge or anything like that. And a king, even a king. Because you remember, let's go back to that simple scenario, yeah. Because like I just said, I'm mud. I'm made of mud. Yeah, I'm made of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So this is my land. This is my land. No one can trespass on my land. Yeah. This is my crown. Yeah. I have the natural crown. Yeah. So I am of the nature. So I am of the crown. This is my crown territory. Yeah. No one can trespass on the crown territory. All your acts and statutes are now void because they don't apply to the crown. Yeah. And I am the true crown, just like you are the true crown, and everybody else is the true crown. Now the other one that we've got on that throne, yeah, they wear a man-made crown. Yeah. Right. So they've taken their sign because they've signed on an oath. They've sworn an oath to serve us. They are lesser than the man. The king and the queens are lesser than the men and the women. Okay. Because
you're making a hierarchy. Yeah, you're making a hierarchy.
So what you're talking about there is, yeah, when you put in somebody in that position to do these things to clean up the mess, so to say. In other words, when somebody comes across another man, yeah, and causes them harm, loss, or injury, the community would normally gather up on that one man, and then they would ask this servant to clean it up, to go and put this man into correction. Yeah, because if you go back to the not the Aborigines, the Africans, yeah, if somebody in the clan or the whatever you want to call it, yeah, if they did something wrong, they would sit them in the middle, and they would all sit round them and pray for them.
Yeah, not just that, they would tell them everything good about them. They would tell them, you have this quality, you have that quality. I knew you from a young boy. You were a good hunter. You have honor. You were good to your mother. They love bomb them. But that's also a form of mind control. A lot of cults use love bombing as a means of recruitment. So it's like anthropology or something. The study of, this is what they've been trying to study intensively since World War I, is behavior modification. And this is where we've ended up with this mask ritual compliance shit going on, is that how can we modify the behavior of the masses? But like you said, if you're not going to delegate authority to one member, say in a community of 100, you're not going to make a sheriff. Well, in an ideal community, you've got a family. So you've got a man whose job is to protect and provide. And you've got a woman whose job is to nurture and encourage. And, and you've got your roles, which are, biological. It's not anti-feminist or anything. It's just, men are generally stronger and more able to protect, and women are able to have babies and men can't. So there's certain roles you just enact. But because they've broken society down so much, say, for instance, like, okay, Frank was in the car, or anybody was in a car, and then there's an attempt at taking his property. And so his job is to protect his own property, but maybe things get muddied because there's somebody there that he also has to protect or whatever. It just gets messy, but certainly gets messy when there's so many, the nuclear family's been broken down. So I find single parent women are being targeted hugely because they don't have a protector. They don't have a covering, So I don't know the answer, but I know it's valuable to keep looking for the answers.
You know the answer.
And it is hard. It is hard if you have right on your side, but then force and bullies overrule righteousness, people do get hurt, people do get locked up, people do get their property taken. You know, how's Carol Woods? How's John Patterson?
People get their houses robbed. You know, no difference.
Yeah, they do. They do.
You know, these things happen. Like, you know, it's all about contract. Remember, this is what you've got to remember. It's all about contract, because that's the only law. Just look at it as the only law. The only law is contract. Yeah, where's your contract? If they've no contract with you, you know, that's fine. I mean, like, yeah, this one here then. So this is a courtesy notice then. I have a courtesy notice if they wish to deal with me. Like, yeah, if they want to do things like, if they wanted to take something off me, that's fine. And there's my terms and conditions of Schedule A. And like, I won't read the quantum side of it because you might, well, I'll read it. For the life claimants, endurance, harm, damage caused claim of the public servants, fist, boot, and lethal weapon usage is with the penalty forfeit of the 65,000 1 troy ounce 99 pure silver coins. Mm-hmm. So these are that's just one. I mean, the other terms and conditions, like, or I'll read it in the layman's terms. Any claim absence of a lawful binding contract between the parties, the penalty will be with 600 silver coins per hour or any portion thereof after.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've also put it into the quantum. So I've got it in both. So it's for the both, and I put it, and I've also got on here the oak claim, brackets, and italics, parentheses, and quotations is with the function of the communication ease with this conveyance frame of the fiction English babble, which is put in the frames, because when you put brackets around words, yeah, they're null and void on the page. Same with anything in a box. Anything that's in a box does not exist on the page. Yeah, it's its own page. There's your four corners. That's your four corner rule. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's on that document. If there's a box in that document, whatever's in that box is not seen on the document. Okay. That's why they put boxes inside boxes inside boxes. You know, just like how they do with everything. So you have your terms and conditions, and if they wish to continue, then that's fine, because then you'll have their contract. You'll eventually then have a contract with them that they're doing to you. If they wish to continue, that's fine.
It's like, but if we take this to its fullest extent, we'd all have to walk around with body cams, recording devices on us. We'd all have to speak a funny language, whether it's quantum or, you know, whatever it is, and we'd all have to not engage. It's inhuman. It's inhuman.
That's why I've been working. You know, and I've been trying to solve this, bring this solution for the ease of the people. Yeah. Because that's what it was all about. Because right now we've got a lot of dirty, horrible, nasty people in this world.
Yeah, okay? But you know, you said the thing about if the military don't get behind, like with King John Wanoa or whoever, if the military don't step up, then you could have right on your side, but there's nobody to bring it to pass. So, for instance, you could say, if you use your boot or fist on me, you know, it's going to cost you 600 pieces of silver, and then they put the boot in and give you a bit of a knocking around. Well, in order to get your 600 pieces of silver, who's going to make that happen? This is what I'm saying. If there's no free will in people wanting to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do, if there's no, what does he say? I acted in good faith. If there's no good faith or goodwill in humanity, I don't know. All I know is that things are horrendously corrupt, and humanity does need to say no, this is not happening. And not just say no because that's a negative. We need to say, please, I learned this with child psychology, with having a daycare. I wouldn't say to the children, no, or don't do that, or you can't do that. I used to say, let's do this. I used to redirect, you know, or let's try this way, or let's keep our hands to ourselves, or let's, you know, always try and make it a positive request rather than a prohibitive rule.
you're missing the point though. You're missing the point here.
Right.
See, when you stick to your grounds, stick to your guns, and don't cave in, yeah, and don't bow down.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to break, and it's the difference between the pillar of salt and pillar of stone. Yeah. So he who knows what he's doing, yeah, can stand firm and won't be moved because he'll have his standing. He'll have his understanding. He'll understand exactly what he's doing. Yeah. It's the police that will wither away, and you'll find that they don't contract and they decide and they walk off and leave you alone. And it's not until you do those things and not until you've actually been into those situations that you will actually realise that that's all you have to do. It really is that easy.
I suppose the example of a child is different because, you know, you can't stand, you know, if a child is walking up to a fire and about to put their hand in, it's no good you standing in the knowledge and the truth that fire burns. You're going to have to restrain that child or put the fire out in order to fulfill your role of protecting them. So you're talking adult to adult engagement. But look, I've got somebody coming round. So is there anything, it was just good to touch base. Is there anything, any news, any good news?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, what the Purple community's flying, it's cooking on gas. And that was the bit about it, you know, because it was about, because they work in the two-dimensional world. You know, they need documents. When they read documents, yeah, it's a different ballgame. And when you've got a CPAS, when you've got the correct things to operate as a man in the factual world, rather than the negative, which is the birth certificate, driving license, passport, which is the legal fiction, which is the dead entity, that dead entity does not have a voice. Okay? Only the man or woman that's on the land, so to say, yeah, or off the land, yeah, that has realized who they are. Know thyself. If you don't know yourself and you're going to walk around and say that you're a person, yeah, if you're going to accept as a person, then obviously those acts and statutes apply to the person. You know, that's the way it comes down to, because that's all they apply to. Okay? Yeah. So you have to. It's an investment. I keep saying to people, you know, you get off the television, get off all that, and just invest that time on yourself. I did. That's all I did. I'm no different than anyone else out there. Once you see what the truth is, you'll know where you've been going wrong. And if you want to know what the problem is, go and look in the mirror. But it isn't the fact that he was made the problem. He was programmed wrong. You know, you're not thinking straight. You've been put into a trap.
Definitely. Every time I talk to Baron David Ward, I have to give my head a wobble, because it's like he just shows me how much is programming and how much is just training to comply and training to fear. You know, it's like we've been a giant experiment for mad scientists for at least a century. All right, look, we'll check in again.
The Baron takes with the fiction. See, the Baron takes them on with that fiction. But again, you know, for those acts and statutes to apply to that fiction, they still have to produce a wet ink signature.
I know. When I sent the first 3 legal documents of his to the Director of Public Prosecutions, they hired a specialist international solicitor to even start to get their heads around what he was saying, and like they hired somebody highly qualified in international law to try and get their heads around it, you know. So I'm looking forward to the next steps. But we can only go as fast as we can according to the levels of mind control that we're willing to shed and the levels of fear that we're willing to lose. Because, for instance, I had 7 years no claims bonus on my insurance for driving, right? So my insurance was really reasonable. Then I went to Lanzarote for a couple of years and I didn't drive out there because there was no need. I was right down in the port. But then because I didn't drive for 2 years, I lost all my no claims bonus. And now they're looking for me to pay 1,380 euros for a year's insurance on my car. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. And I'm actually thinking to myself, shall I just, you know, sell the car? Shall I just like take the car off the road? And that seems such an imposition, because if it was my horse and trap, you know, if I had the right, I used to ride my horse into town for milk sometimes when I lived a couple of miles outside the town. If I wanted to take my pony and trap to go and get provisions, nobody would have the right to say to me, you can't travel. You know, a car is still counted as horsepower. So it has gone crazy that you can go driving and police can stop you and say, turn back, you're locked down. This area is locked down, no access allowed. It's like the world's gone crazy, you know, it's gone crazy.
Their sea lanes. That's their sea lanes. That's their corporate sea lanes, yeah?
Yeah.
And anybody's going around as the corporate or as the body corporate, i.e. the legal fiction, you know, that road, you haven't got your sea lanes. You haven't got your sea lanes and they can turn you back. They control their sea lanes, but they don't control our sea lanes.
Yeah.
We have our own. We pay our own fee for rate. You're all prepaid. That's the other side to it. I mean, most of the common law guys, they all know about the miners account. They all know about the birth certificates. It was created to a bond by your weight in golds floating on the stock exchange. They can go onto the fidelity.com and they can go and see how much the money they're really worth, and that they're all trading on your, you know, they're all trading on your securities anyway. That's what all the police are doing right now. They don't realise what they're doing. The police don't. Not their fault.
No, they don't. Look, I've got to go. I've got somebody coming in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Let's do this again. It's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me. Good luck.
Take care, mate. Ciao, ciao.
God bless.
Bye-bye.